Welcome back to episode 2 of the Upper Midwest Old Time Show. Today we're going to go to Drammen Township to go to the grave of Leonard Finseth, and also we'll hear a tune from Leonard and hear him talk about his beloved church that he helped build and paint. And then we're going to go visit Dusty Whytis, who is a great Wisconsin folk singer, old-time musician slash punk rocker slash hobo slash folk musician. This is just a great dude who I really respect as a dude, and I really respect as a musician. So we're going to spend time with him, and that fills up our half hour. You know, we like quality over quantity here at this show. So it's going to be fun half hour, I think, so enjoy. And this graveyard that I'm at, Leonard's graveyard, is right outside of the Drammen Lutheran Church. The Drammen Lutheran Church that he spent so much time working on and rebuilding. And I have video of him talking about how much work he put into this church. And it's only fitting that he's buried out here. And I'll try and show a little video of the church too.
Then here when they built the church, and then they wanted me, Leonard Finseth, then to do the interior decorating. Well, that was quite a little staining to do, varnishing. And right there, right back to you, Bob, there, I had a 10-foot step ladder, a wiggly one. Had to stand on the very top in order to varnish and stain out their arch up there. And I had to paint between my shoes, legs, you know, then I'd reach over careful and get some varnish on brush and kick the brush up so I'd hold it. Then stand up, and then I probably could reach that there. And I didn't think anything of it then, but I do now. And I worked here on the church quite a bit, you know, from the beginning to finish. Arnie Thompson and myself, yes, we wheeled all the cement for the basement. Then lay the blocks up and stuff for the block layers.
You can't see it, but Leonard Finseth's grave is right there. And I already cleaned it off. You couldn't see his name or nothing on it. But now you can see his name. And he's got a little fiddle there, which I'll show you in a minute. But I'm going to play a few of his tunes at his grave here.
Waltz, I was heard that was played by a fiddler by the name of Leonard. This is a freak, I don't know, I've never heard anybody else play it.
right, I'm here with Dusty Whytis, and he's from Polaski, Wisconsin, which is nearby Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I'm really fascinated by this character. He does a lot of great music. He's got a great banjo and singing style, and he's kind of connected to the punk rock world and the folk world both, and they kind of both show up in his music. And I really like this cat. So, Dusty, how's it going?
It's going all right. It's good to be here.
I'm glad you're here, and I see you're here from your humble abode, right?
Yes. I would show you the interior of my van, but it's a little bit messy right now. So you get to see the ceiling.
So how long have you been living in your van here?
About less than a year. I'm gonna say 8 or 9 months now. Before that, I was on bicycle and foot a lot, riding freight trains and hitchhiking, and so there's living in a vehicle that has the amount of space this vehicle does is relatively new to me, but it's been a fun time.
Yeah, how do you feel about it? Does it present challenges, or how is living in a van?
Compared to before, it's excellent. I don't know, it's kind of its own thing. Like there was a point where something I really love and something I'm really just kind of passionate about is riding freight trains. And before I lived in a van, I would have always been like, that's boring. I don't want to live in a vehicle. But I have this whole place set up with like a shelf. All my stuff goes under it. I sleep on top of the shelf. I have it's like a whole room. It's a 21-foot van. It's kind of just enjoyable, like as its own thing. It's definitely doesn't compare to riding freight trains, but as just a different way to travel, it's really fun. Honestly, it makes my life a lot easier. I wouldn't say it presents a lot of challenges, although I think if someone jumped into living in a van, from a previously stationary life, they might have some difficulties, but I find it to be enjoyable. I get to, carry around more instruments than I could previously, and accrue a bunch of things I don't need.
Yeah, I never lived in a van, but it kind of sounds real fun to me. I mean, I'm sure it has its ups and downs, but sounds like a good time. So let's talk about music. So you're one of my favorite modern folk musicians out there today.
Oh wow, thank you.
And since you do hail from the Upper Midwest, that's why we're having a show with you in it here today. And why don't you talk to me about how you got into folk and traditional music as a youngster?
When I was a kid, I was really into punk rock, obviously, and there's no punk scene in Green Bay. There was at one point, I think at the height of the scene when I was going to shows there were 3 punk bands, and they were all right, but I mean that doesn't really make much of a scene. And that was when things were really good there. And so, I always tried to have punk bands, and it never panned out because it was just usually metalheads like trying to doing me a favor. At one point, I think I was 16 or 17, I just decided I was done trying to put together a band, and I was just going to write songs and do a solo thing. And when I was doing that, I just kind of started getting into the open mic world, and so that was kind of like my first real encounter with folk music, or folky music, and as I sort of just drifted in that direction from that scene, and then I moved to Minneapolis. I was going to school there for music therapy, and that kind of prompted getting into folk music, I guess. And then also, as I was going to school for music therapy, a lot of folk songs are pertinent to, or just useful to be used in music therapy settings. So I kind of learned some here and there, and I guess I just slowly drifted towards that as I played more acoustic music. I finished all my coursework. I did the internship that's required of you to become a music therapist. It's like a 6-month, essentially working full time as a music therapist, just under the supervision of an already board certified music therapist. But I never applied for graduation, and I never got board certified. So I went through all the schooling for it, did it, but never actually became a music therapist. It's a really good field, and I think it was a good. I'm really glad I did it. I worked in the internship I had was in Virginia, and I was working in hospice, and it was a really good experience and a really good thing to be doing. I just I guess I kind of realized I was more drawn to performing, and so that was that. But
that
I think
had to be intense.
Yeah, it was, but I think a lot of people generally have this idea that like, oh, you're not doing it anymore because hospice is just so intense and it must have been like really hard to deal with death all the time. But I actually didn't find that to be so much of a struggle, just because people with the same terminal diagnoses, if one's on hospice and one's off, the person on hospice is going to live longer, just because their psychosocial needs are being met. And I played a role in helping them get the absolute most out of their remaining time on Earth. And they're going to pass anyway, or regardless. So it was a really rewarding thing to help people in that process. So yeah, it was a really great thing. And actually that was in Virginia, and so I kind of encountered I started to really get into old time a little bit more there. And I was introduced to Doc Boggs, and that was really the starting point for like,
as it should be,
playing really, really traditional stuff. I think that was really the starting point.
Follow the lakes to an iron ore vessel our living to make. We shipped in Chicago, beat you to the shore, bound away for Escanaba and red iron ore. Ole, ole, ole. September the 17th day, $2.25 was all they would pay. And on Monday morning from Bridgeport to take the E.C. Roberts out on the lake. The wind from the southern sprang up a fresh breeze, and away through Lake Michigan the Roberts did sneeze. All through its waters the Roberts did roar, and on Friday morning we passed through death's door. This packet she howled across the mouth of Green Bay, and for her cutwater she dashed the white spray. We rounded the sandpoints, our anchor let go. We furled in the canvas and the watch went below. Ole, ole, ole. We hove alongside the Exile, and soon was made fast to an iron ore pile. We lowered their chutes, and like thunder did roar, they spouted into us that red iron ore. Some sailors took shovels while others got spades, still others wheelbarrows, each man to his trade. We looked like red devils, our fingers got sore. We cursed Escanaba, that damned iron ore. The smoke got so thick you could scarce see your nose. It got in your eyes, it got in your clothes. We loaded the Roberts till it couldn't hold no more, right up to the gunnels with that red iron ore. Ole, ole, ole. Then we rolling over its side. Then we took through North Passage, oh Lord, how it blew. And all around the dummy a large fleet there came to. The night being dark, old Lucy would scare. We hove up next morning and for Cleveland did steer. Now my song is ended, I hope you won't scoff. The dunnage is packed and all hands are paid off. Now the boat's docked in Cleveland, made fast them in stern. And over the bottle we'll spin a big yarn. Cleveland made fast them in stern. And I've till next season to spend all I've earned. With each passing year I grow to wake more and more. I'm a youngin' made old fast for red iron ore. Thank you.
Maybe you could go into a little bit about how, because you're not really bluegrass, you're not really old-timey, you're kind of somewhere in the middle between, probably like old-timey picking style and your own style, So maybe you could go into a little bit about how that style, how you developed your banjo style.
Yeah, it kind of is right in the middle, like you said. It's maybe a little bit more accurate to call it, I guess, pre-bluegrass than old time, but even that, I don't know if that gets to the heart of it, because there's things that I pulled from bluegrass. Essentially, it's the foundation for the way I play is 2-finger thumb lead, which is I think the simplest way to play the banjo, and I think it's a really wonderful way for beginners to start, because even at a novice stage, you can make like real music, and I think that is helpful to snowball one's progress. But you just use your thumb and your forefinger, and it's one rhythmic pattern. It's a bum ditty, just like clawhammer. You just input the melody notes into that pattern. I played classical guitar for a long time, and so once I started doing that, it kind of just came naturally to me to do 3 fingers right away, kind of for economy's sake. But actually, at a lot of times, it's not that economical to throw in your 3rd finger, and I was kind of just tripping my fingers up by doing that.
And you play both traditional songs and you write your own songs. And your voice is very interesting to me. It's almost like the only thing I can compare it to really is like Buell Casey. It's like really in front and really present.
Oh, interesting.
How did you develop like your vocal style?
That's from singing on the street, busking. Like that's what made me develop that style. I did take one class vocal lessons for non-music majors once, and that was really useful. I had a really good teacher for that class, and I think that helped me like understand a lot better how to control the sound I produced. I've been singing since I was a child, I guess, church choirs and high school choirs, et cetera. And I guess it always kind of came easy to me. And so I never really did anything with it. And then because it just didn't feel like much of a challenge, playing on the street a lot more, that's when I kind of learned how to just really project forward. I guess I've heard it described, it's like not singing to here, but singing to out there. Playing on the street, you kind of have like a millisecond to grab someone's attention and make them decide that you're going to hold their attention.
So let's talk about, it's not just van life here. You are touring also and doing music on the road. And talk to me about how that's going in the present day and how things are happening.
Oh, it's going pretty well. It's been kind of weird with the pandemic. So I play with Abby the Spoon Lady, YouTube sensation.
Very famous.
But she's
very famous.
Phenomenal spoon player, might be the best. I guess I can't really say for certain because I don't have a very good technical understanding of how to play the spoons, but she is really, really up there as a phenomenal phenomenal spoon player. And I'm very fortunate to play with her. We started playing together about 2 years ago, and we started as a 5-piece band, then we were a 4-piece band, then we were a 3-piece band. Now we're 2 pieces, but we sound really good together now. We're like kind of settled on that. Yeah, so we had our first tour booked. We were a 3-piece band at that point, and then we were 2 shows into it, and quarantine started. And so it's kind of been, but we just had 2 shows in one in North Carolina, one in South Carolina, and they were just excellent, really fun to play. And we do a lot of street performance. Abby's really passionate about street performing. That's how she started, and that's how we met several years ago. It's really cool playing with Abby because we kind of come from the same world, and so she knows what it's like to be like, oh, okay, you don't want to be tied down to like a hard touring schedule. We'll do 2 weeks of shows, Wednesday through Sunday, and then we can just split and go our separate ways, and then do our own thing. You can go be a bum, work on my house, and then reconvene and do it again. And we just started playing Cooteray Jig. You sent me that transcription, and the arrangement we have, I'm like so proud of it. And Abby and I started playing it literally together, like 2 days ago, and it's sounded really good, and Abby's really into it.
What songs are you going to be doing for us today?
I was thinking about doing Red Iron Ore, and there's a tune I call Kavesservalsen / Swagger Waltz. Otto Rindlisbacher and his pals played it at the, I don't know if it was the 1937 or 1938 National Folk Festival, but they played Kavesservalsen at both of them, but at one of them they played it as a medley with Swagger Waltz. They're 2 lumberjack tunes that go really well together. And I was gonna play what's that other tune? Pume Palm. I sing it in English, but usually it's sung in Finnish. That's the Minnesota tune, so I'm really excited to play that one.
Now, see, here's why you're one of my heroes. I mean, you like punk rock, you like folk music, and then you're gonna bust out an Otto Rindlisbacher jam. I mean, that's a man.
Oh, I mean, right, it's just bro. Like, not a lot of people are super familiar with Otto Rindlisbacher. Obviously, I was kind of shocked when I joined your Facebook group, Old Time Music of the Upper Midwest, and I figured it was Southern old time musicians in the Upper Midwest. But I asked, like, does anybody know about the regional music of this area? And just got an outpouring of like really, really like in-depth responses from a few folks, yourself included, obviously. And
yeah, you don't want to do this.
I was just floored, and it really like it really was the catalyst for all that. But with Otto Rindlisbacher, I mean, I describe him to Southern old-time musicians as like the Tommy Jarrell of Wisconsin. Right. And, I like his playing. I like his tunes. And I actually didn't get that one from him at first. I got it from the Goose Island Ramblers as No Norwegians in Dickeyville. I felt like I hit a wall with Southern old-time. So I figured I'd look at where I'm from. And I've really been enjoying doing that.
I like it. I like this direction. I like what you're about. I like what you're doing. I really value the fact that, in my world, I would call it like the ultimate do-it-yourself aesthetic is what you're living your life for. And I just really respect and admire and appreciate the heck out of that. So thank you for joining me today, and thank you for being on the show. We've really, really appreciate it. Now we're going to listen to
thank you for
a few of your great songs coming up.